Hello and welcome to another episode of Laying Down the Lore 40k, a lore podcast in which we aim to separate our badgers from our burrows, our Samarkans from our subterraneans, and our vigils from our Vajrakeshes, and generally ask, what's up with this 40k stuff? My name is Ben Crone Barber, and while I used to know pretty much fuck all about 40k, I now know very little. With me is my co-host Christopher Crowlin Allen.
A Star Badger, welcome to you.
Who, despite years of valiant effort, still knows next to nothing.
Correctamundo.
And my dear brother Darren.
I'm awake, I promise.
Who knows so much about Warhammer, it's frankly disturbing. This dichotomy between our levels of understanding is why we're all here, as this series is an attempt to address that ignorance.
Hey, I love the punchier badger-based. I'm just going to leave it like that.
You love punching badgers? You such a bastard.
That is blasphemy. I
was badger baiting.
Spoken like a true red talon, right, Ben?
Yeah, exactly. Traitor.
Cunt.
Thanks to Crowell for his. We were missing an S from the intro, and he suggested subterranean, which was
contributed.
Quick thinking, Crowley.
All right,
I'm done.
I was about to say, but there's no plural of us, so I didn't understand the S thing. Also, I've realized, or rather, I've been informed, I don't understand how microphones work.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
What type of microphones?
Exactly.
Yeah, got him. You talking a dynamic or a condenser? These are condensers, right, Grell?
Probably.
These are those Anaconda microphones you were talking about previously. Now that is like a 20 episode callback.
Yeah. What he means to say is anechoic listeners, but we
don't have anechoic listeners.
Yeah.
The podcast isn't allowed in their country.
And it's not the right use of anechoic, but that's fine. You're thinking
of
arboreal microphones, Darren. Arboreal microphones.
Yeah. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah, I'm giving that nothing.
It's written all over his face.
Yeah.
It's written all
over
his face.
Hang on.
Although I will say, I think we should tip our caps to Darren's audio abilities. For a man who 4 years ago knew fuck all about microphones, audio engineering. I mean,
or even 5 years ago when the podcast started. But yep, I know exactly what you mean. It took me a year to even realize what a microphone is. Like physically.
Yeah. Do you remember the first session, Ben, when he came in with a microphone up his ass? So we're like,
yeah. Turned the camera on and he was just facing the wrong way. All right, guys, let's get started.
Forever burned into my retinas.
Yeah, I mean, the guy makes some fucking next level ads. He's on the editing. He turns up on time. It's fucking impressive. Impressive.
And that's what we love about Crowell. Nailed it.
Right. You know what time is?
I do.
Citizen of the Imperium, it's time for frontal lobotomy or bottle in front of me.
Hey. So last episode was episode 50. A nice round 50. It was our first episode of the Astra Melees, Astorum, Star Badgers, Space Badgers. We haven't quite figured out which of those names is correct, but we're going to go with all of them for now. Dar may expand on that later. Part 1. Riley, first question.
Oh, I see.
How old is the earliest mention of the Star Badgers in Imperial records?
Oh, way back in the something wreathing. Way back. We're not too sure, actually, Ben, because...
No, we are. It was specifically stated.
No. Actually, no.
My guess is that you don't know. So
I can tell you, all right, is that Darren didn't explain it very well. So,
what would you do for this? I tell you what, I won't do. Yeah, that's the classic politician's answer.
Let me read from chapter 1 of Krallen's best-selling novel, Things I Know. A dachshund is not a hound. It was 5,500 years.
100 years ago,
before the
current time.
Exactly. Well done, Kral.
Bonus point if you can tell me what document it was mentioned in.
The Bible.
Nailed it.
Yeah. So, Kral, I'm going to give you that.
Yeah.
It was the Gazetteer.
Oh, that is
that
it.
right?
The words that Darren makes up. So that's it. The Arboreal Gazette Daily. Read all about it. Extra. Star badges are excellent.
The Gazetteer of Hestia Navaris. Yeah.
Yeah, we were never going to remember the suffix.
I knew that when I asked it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Kral, number 2. What was the name of the planet that the Star Badgers were gifted for recruitment?
Samarkand.
Well done. And what was the ultimate fate of the Vigil of Dar?
Of Luna's Vigil.
Luna's Vigil.
Luna's Vigil. Was that a ship?
Yes. What happened to it at the end?
Did it plow into the side of a volcano in Samarkand?
Yep.
Become basically half underground. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we will find out exactly what happens to Luna's Vigil in this episode, I guess. But I imagine...
No, it's never mentioned again.
Oh, okay, fine. And it was all a dream. Yeah.
Kral, you're on 78.79%. I reckon
he's creeping up there.
He's creeping up there. I reckon if we were to keep this going, you might be able to hit that 90% in quite a long time.
Okay.
Probably longer than... Yes.
I have a question or two for you.
Oh, God. Is it related to this show, Kral? I am not going through how babies are made again with you.
Is this a boil or a wart?
Yeah.
Okay. Why?
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
If Fuzzy Wuzzy was a bear and Fuzzy Wuzzy had no hair...
Why was Chaplain Benfatha Croda recruited by the Death Watch?
Oh yeah, because he was almost like a kind of mystical ability that he was so...
He was just a great preacher.
He was a great preacher, exactly. Yeah.
Stop trying to make yourself magical. You're just a great talker.
He was a magician,
yeah,
Kral.
Yeah.
He was a magician. Right, question 2, come on.
Okay, cool. What was the name of the activity where chapters search for rumoured pre-Imperium human settlements?
What's the name of the activity?
What do they call that? It's got a label.
Scrumping.
Scrumping, almost. They renamed it from scrumping. They go out and they find these off the radar or under the radar human settlements on planets, which are probably just on the outskirts of
I think I had a toilet break during that part. So I don't know what the answer to
Edgeworld hunts. They're called Edgeworld hunts. Edging the world hunts. Yeah.
Edging hunts with a H, yeah.
And last question for you, Ben. Which segmentum were the Starbird? Well done. Yeah, okay. I'm going to give you that. Is this what it feels like?
Yeah, it feels good. Yeah, I feel like I did all right there.
Cool.
And as I'm taking the points, I'm definitely going to give me all of that. So yeah. Right. Well, cool. Yeah. Thanks for that, Kral, and thanks for your questions. I loved your previous work. I think it's only getting stronger.
We need a war call. Star Badgers.
What sound do badgers make?
I don't know. We'll Google it after the show. Moo. Should we have a war moo?
A war moo. It's been quite a common theme, hasn't it? So, yeah. Okay, badges say moo now, people.
I think it would be moo star badges.
I think it has to be a Julian Clary-esque innuendo. It's like when he arrives on stage and there's like a roar of applause, or lots of applause, and he says, "Thank you, everyone. There's nothing I like more than a warm hand upon my entrance." I love that. That always makes me smile. The story, not the warm hand. That
not the action.
Shocks me. Yeah. Like, whoa, what was that?
Unless expected. Yeah. Unless given pre-warning.
Yeah. Whoa. I'm just here to perform. No, not like that. Yeah. Anyway, Samarkand. Yes, when we last left our friends, the Spadgers, whose spiritual heart, Luna's Vigil, had crash landed, let's call it, into the side of a giant volcano on the surface of Samarkand. So I thought what we'd do is have a look at Samarkand, its kind of geology. We're almost going to do like a gazetteer, Chris. And then we'll have a look at the...
Gazetier.
The
Idiot.
Say chowder, Frenchie.
So the Samarkand system within Segmentum Pacificus is a 5-planet single-star system. Its star, known as
Jackson.
Pyrvos. Yes, it's star known as Jackson. You tool.
No, you said it's a 5-planet Jackson.
It's a 5-planet Jackson. Its star known as called Pyrvos is a red giant. So it's this kind of dull orangey red in the sky, I suppose, if you're standing on the surface of Samarkand. But why would you? It's a horrible place. It's a kind of roiling stellar mass emitting quite irregular, like, coronal flares, and causes intense magnetic disruption within the system itself. The Samarkand is the second of 5 planets within the system, and it is slightly larger than Earth, very slightly larger. Like it's had like a few Happy Meals larger.
Yeah.
Cut that. That was nonsense. It is...
I don't know. That was pretty accurate. That's given me a pretty solid idea of what Samarkand is like size-wise.
Yeah, 100 football fields. Ben has no ideas. 2 Happy Meals.
Yeah, fucking hell, yeah. Let's just do all of our measurements in Happy Meals from now on, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if we can give a metaphor that people understand... Samarkand is slightly larger than Earth in the same way that after a Christmas meal, you have to kind of undo the top of your trousers. That's how much larger Samarkand is. Okay, everyone
can I just ask, how is the number of a planet calculated? How is Samarkand the second planet of 5? Is it from
the outside or the inside?
Yeah, from the inside.
Okay, cool. Right.
It's like how we say Mercury is the first planet.
Yes.
The first planet in this system is...
Yes.
I had to do the mnemonic in my head. I was like, many very eager mountaineers climb swiftly up steep peaks. What? Is that right?
You had to.
Yeah, well, I had to do the first letter. I'm like, many, yes, Mercury. It could be Mars, but I'm going to go with what he said.
Ben speaking in tongues. The power of Christ compels you. Many Mercury.
The first planet in Pyros' system is known as Karash Tor. And that is a magma world. It's effectively a liquid world. Magma.
Sorry.
It has no stable land masses at all, and appears to be a kind of ball of magma as it floats through the space. The space? As it floats through space.
just one space.
Frodo, I can only apologize. I'm all over the place this morning. As we mentioned in the last episode, Samarkand is incredibly tectonically unstable. It's, I would go as far as to say, hyper-volcanic rather than ordinarily volcanic. And life is really only able to survive because there are these networks of kind of subterranean caverns that are constantly being cut off from one another and then reattached at different stages. It's like Lego, basically. The third world is a kind of dark gas giant known as Threx. And its really only point of interest is that there's a ring of now defunct defense platform rings around the actual equator of the gas giant that is used more as a relay station, a survey or auspex station to monitor the approaches from the Halo region. You know, that rings the mysterious ring outside of the Emperor's finger, and was
Yikes.
in earlier times, even before the rise of the Meles Astorum, was used as a naval support facility, but that had long since been decommissioned, and now it's largely an automated relay station. The fourth planet there is called Sakarn Prime. I wrote this, and you think I'd be able to pronounce the fucking thing. Sakarn Prime is a pre-industrial civilized world, in quotes. So it is a medieval world, effectively.
Feudal?
It is a feudal world, yes. So it's left largely untouched by the Imperium, although the governors are aware that, you know, there are planets beyond their own, and it's ruled by the God Emperor. And
of course.
They really only tithe it for mutants and for psychers. There's no ongoing planetary tithe required from it, because it is kind of mineral poor, but does have a human population upon it.
Do they have to import resources then?
No, there are a number of small outposts, usually built high into the kind of alpine regions of the continents that are found on Sakarn, mostly managed by the Adeptus Mechanicus, specifically Magos Ultimex Vo 47, who is the kind of mechanic.
Bob, for sure.
Yeah. Maggie. It is monitored by the Adeptus Mechanicus, and supplies are dropped in for, or transported in for those facilities. But it's very much an observation and survey kind of array of sites, rather than
do the civilian population produce their own food then?
Yes, yeah. It's very kind of, as I say, it's very, very medieval. One would go so far as to say, if you were to listen to the old world, you'll get a good idea of what it's like there in terms of just, well, it's human population. That's right, they're all French. It's the only human population we've dealt with so far. The final world is Calas's Shroud, which is a kind of ice world out on the rim of the system. And it's a surface very much like Hoth. So it's just snow, ice, cracked kind of glacial plates, and
Santa.
And Santa. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The only thing of note for Calas's Shroud is that there are numerous kind of ghost signals, like auspex, like artifacty broadcasts from beneath the surface. But at this stage,
space pirate radio.
Yeah, it's viewed up as the kind of basic background static of the planet, rather than a hidden culture or a hidden base. So they have not explored it at all. The system itself, then, is the outer rim is girded by a dense asteroid field called the Kurok Belt, and that has been in the past used as a kind of mineral resource by the chapter when it existed as a chapter. And indeed, one assumes by the Mechanicum and the Navy that was posted in and around the gas giant, the facility there. Into this, last episode, we saw the spearing prow of Luna's Vigil as it crashed through the system, as it translated back into the real world and not the warp, ignored any kind of hails from the Mechanicum or Mechanicus sites on Sakharin and just plowed straight through to Samarkand, eventually coming to a gentle crash on the surface of Samarkand itself.
A lot like when I get home from work after driving for an hour and I'm busting for the toilet and I come through the door and Pre tries to talk to me. I'm like, no.
Just
I'll talk to you in a minute.
Fucking
Yeah.
push her into the next room.
Yeah.
Just can't talk.
Just face plant her away. Like,
Yeah.
Nope.
I think you should.
I have a mountain I need to crash into.
I think you should just stop and talk to her and wet yourself just to prove a point.
See, this is what happens. This is your fault.
A lot of these things you only need to do it once. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lesson learned. And then the next time when you come into the house, she'll just be running in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Samarkand, as we discussed to some extent last episode, is a incredibly unstable volcano world. It's a death world, to be sure, of burning skies, shifting kind of ash deserts, obsidian mountain ranges, and kind of vast caverns. And I had done a cheeky AI image of what it would most commonly look like. Don't worry, I checked it for microphone cocks. That is a...
God.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that, are we, Chris?
I don't want to talk about it.
The listeners want to hear. Dar was misusing AI image generation when we first discovered it. And apparently for a completely innocent search.
It was completely innocent.
Revealed an image that has scarred us for life.
It'll be
in the show notes, everyone.
My favorite thing was, well, I've still got the stick image version. We'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah. Which is still damaging Kral.
Yeah, my favorite thing was...
Kral's never seen a cock like it. I'll be honest with you. He's never seen a cock like
that. It reminds me of boarding school.
A lot of microphones around there, were there?
Don't put a microphone near my mouth ever again.
No, my favorite part about it was just Kral's response was just, I can't stop looking at it.
I can't look away.
So I've popped an image there, and
oh my god, it's the microphone.
No, okay. Is that a volcanic cock? What? So the image there is Samarkand on a good day, and that's what almost all of the planet looks like.
Nice.
Inhospitable.
Dark.
Or inhospitable? Unhospitable.
So were the Star Badgers grateful for this toxic planet?
They were grateful for the humans that can survive in such an environment because they were hardy kind of warriors and survivalists. For all the kind of volcanic activity that seems to go on the planet, it is eerily silent. And the kind of oppressive silence of the world is really only broken by the kind of tectonic level creaks and cracks from deep within the surface, and something called mountain fall, which is when a mountain falls. And that the noise from that echoes around the planet and is usually seen as a herald of ill omen. That's not to say there isn't atmosphere. There is, of course. There is an Earth-like atmosphere.
There's an ambiance.
An ambiance, yeah. But it's kind of repeatedly churned up by something called fire dust storms. And these usually happen in the storm seasons, or what the locals called the Agnivat, known as flame winds, and we've all had experience of flame winds, which are where there's a kind of like a perfect storm, a perfect combination of heat pulses, volcanic eruption, usually sparked by mountain fall, and you end up with these kind of vast solar wind style firestorms of kind of plasma and molten sand. They will strip flesh immediately and will turn stone to kind of slaggy glass almost as fast. And so survival for the human population depends utterly on being able to get into these deep caverns or burrows, or indeed survive on the Karkati plateau, which is somewhat immune to these types of storms. The people themselves endure Samarkand with an equal kind of quiet tenacity, even though they're, many of them are driven underground during the storm seasons. They refer to themselves as the Flintborn. The origins of that name are somewhat lost in time, but the fact that they're all born still within their amniotic sacs is a clue to why they're
gross.
called that. So when they're born, the sacs get covered in ash and it looks like a nodule of flint. And so once the sac is torn open, that's where that name comes from. I'm sorry to be so biological about it.
Wow.
But they are famed for their kind of cultural resilience and personal resilience and kind of true grit. A can-do attitude, or more correctly, a fuck you attitude. They don't take any prisoners. Sometimes, literally.
2 questions. What is the atmosphere composition? If this is it like entirely toxic, or is there any sort of oxygen on the planet?
There is. It is an Earth-like atmosphere, although there's significantly more sulfur in the air, so the entire planet smells like a fart. Effectively,
Lovely. And this amniotic sac jazz.
Yeah.
So it's just a normal birth, but there's an additional layer around. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's the actual sac that the fetus or the baby kind of grows in within the womb. And so over years of just not selective breeding, but kind of those who have survived, it was more common for that to happen to the women in their tribe than not. And the ones that didn't do that, their children had short lives, or they didn't kind of contribute to the gene pool on an ongoing basis. So it has evolved to be that way, rather than
interesting.
It was always that way. As I said, the tribes, the Flintborn, live in these kind of subterranean mega caverns, usually kind of quite civilized in terms of there are buildings. And so there are many kind of ziggurats and temples within these caverns that have been constructed over millennia. And so the dwellings are in a constant state of flux because of the tectonic activity. And many of the tribes have gotten very, very good at making earthquake-proof dry stone buildings because they're able to fit the stones together in such a way that they're not shaken apart. Mr. Chris, you had your hand there.
Yeah, back to the productive process or reproductive process of the Flintborn. What's the gestation period?
The same. They're humans. They are humans.
They're humans.
Yeah, it's the same as it would be for us. The only notable difference is the amniotic sac thing.
Sure, but when are they in the womb and when are they out of the womb covered in flint? Is it still a 9-month period, but like 50-50?
Yes. So if you can imagine a pregnant woman in our own world going fully 9 months and then giving birth, and the child comes out still encased in the amniotic sac. It's that.
Okay.
There's no.
And how long do they leave the child in the sac? Do they take it out almost straight away?
Almost straight away, yeah.
Right, okay.
Oh, right, I see. It's not like then for another 6 months they are in. They're
put on the shelf.
Yeah, they're in the sack.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just needs to ripen.
Yeah.
Don't put him next to the bananas because he'll ripen too quick. Just yeah.
This is going to end up with one of you asking, so how does the baby get into the woman?
With flint and fire.
So each cavern has the kind of detritus of many civilizations and many different tribes within its kind of huge cavernous halls. And many an empire has kind of risen and fallen within the bounds of these truly enormous caves. So it's like these things are like, there's a cavern the size of Ireland. Do you know what I mean? We're talking about hundreds of miles in all directions that can be populated. The mantle of the planet itself is incredibly rich and has industrial grade kind of flint and other igneous stones in there, which have in ages past been used to create or used in the creation of ignition cores for power generation, and also as polishing agents for lenses, for lasers, magma.
Hog polish.
Hog polish. Hog polish, yeah.
Yeah.
The previous attempts to get these resources and get these kind of nodules out have failed purely down to the hostile conditions of the planet and the natural predators that exist within there, some of which we'll talk about now as we go through. The crashing of the Luna's Vigil into Mahanala, which is known locally as the Great Throat, which is a super volcano on the Karkati Plateau continent, has been renamed over generations to Vash Jaral. Simply, they've rebadged the crashed ship simply because the population did not understand what it was. It looked like something had been regurgitated by this huge volcano. And so most of the Flintborn believed that had always been there, just in the subsurface of the planet itself.
But where's its amniotic sac?
Yeah. Real kind of lesson taught by the planet itself is that survival depends on adaptation, patience, and a kind of unyielding spirit of survival. Every day is a fight against death, either through starvation, dehydration, or getting your body burned by a plasma storm. The usual.
I'd like to see the cheap artwork you get in some family homes of like live, laugh, love, survive, hydrate,
amniotic.
Don't amniotic.
Within these large kind of subterranean caverns, they do actually have seas and bodies of water. Some fresh, most quite brackish, still consumable, but they have learned over generations to filter, or over millennia, to filter such water through the different kind of layers of rock, gravel, and ash that are generated naturally within the planet to be able to get pure, or rather palatable, drinking water that won't dissolve your insides from being too...
Have you ever tried pure water?
Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? Yeah.
Yeah, I vaguely remember an experiment in school with none of the minerals in it, so it is pure, and it tastes fucking horrendous. It is absolutely awful. Yeah, like the things that we do to water in order to make it, taste like water that we know is.
Take it, bitch. What?
Yeah.
Purely H2O doesn't taste of nothing. I thought it would be tasteless.
No, it does. It does have a taste. As far as I can remember, it was a very long time ago. Listeners may correct me on that, but my memory is that H2O without all of the additional things that we add to it is quite. Yeah, it's quite the acquired taste.
Quite the acquired taste. Yeah. Well, all of these seas within the kind of the caverns are magma warmed and sort of magma, incredibly rich in minerals, and usually because of their content, there's a lot of kind of bioluminescence around the edges, and so there's a lot of kind of bioluminescent algae and vegetation within these caverns, providing quite a good source of ambient light for people to, well, not fall off mountains and stuff within these caverns.
Useful.
Excellent, yeah. Mm-hmm. Over the millennia, this is where the Flintborn have learned to endure the planet and its kind of dangers and threats. The seas themselves do have tides, but that's more to kind of geological shuggling of the enormous kind of nodule that these things are occupying at any given time. Some of the water in smaller bodies can be quite dense and almost gelatinous in its nature because of it's so heavy with dissolved minerals, and indeed some have metallic filaments within them which can tear open the throat of anyone foolish enough to drink from it. There is, because of the ambient heat, there is a steam fog over most bodies of water, and indeed because of the uneven way that these waters are heated, there are unpredictable currents within them, and you find in a lot of them as well, because of so much geothermal energy, that there are spires of crystal growing out of these waters. So it's quite otherworldly, given in the fact that it's in another world. There are geysers erupting constantly, both with scalding water and gas, and navigation through these, once they're outside of their kind of defined settlements, relies a lot on cultural memory, the kind of mythology and folklore around their own culture, and to some extent an element of madness, where you get a lot of have-a-go heroes who want, I'm going to go over there. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, did you see that guy died over there? I'm going to go over there, but just to the left. And as I did that, I pointed right. Yeah.
It was left to us, though. And then he died? I'm guessing he died when he went over to the left.
He only half died. So the guy went further left and he was fine. These waters are not sterile in terms of life. The kind of more common life forms there are huge 20-meter long blind eels. They're called blind eels, who hunt by vibration. Very, very doony in terms, but dune of the water. And can kill with very large
no IP
electric
conflict there.
No, not at all. It's water worms. What are you talking about, Chris? So they are giant electric eels, effectively, and their electric pulses can boil the very blood out of them. In some of these caverns, these are introduced by other tribes, usually as a kind of way to have a reliable food source, but also as a kind of weapon of war against enemy tribes. A long-standing peaceful body
Unleash
of water.
The water-bound blind eels.
Release the eels. Yeah, I'm really mushing together a load of movies for these eels. So it's Release the Kraken.
No, it's good, man. It's good. Yeah.
Speaking of krakens, we have also the shard krakens, who are these kind of translucent, mineral-clawed, squid-like beings that can drag the skiffs and boats of the Flintborn down into the depths, where they will munch on the
munch on
the people. When they attack, their entire body glows. And so it's this light source, this bioluminescent light source. So you're suddenly attacked by, a many tentacled underground angel, effectively, who grabs you and pulls you down into the depths. On the shores of these huge lakes, you also get something called the ash leviathans, and these are truly titanic, kind of semi-molten creatures who generate their own intense amount of heats and can kind of melt the very rock that they're walking over. And when they kind of immerse themselves in these great lakes and seas, you get these huge gouts of smoke or steam and kind of volcanic eruption of water into the atmosphere, which can take days if not weeks, to be able to settle, and so can obscure travel within the caverns.
Do the tribes have any sort of cultural or spiritual belief systems that have built up around those creatures that you mentioned? Are they
yes,
worshipped,
and we're going to touch
feared?
on some of that later on.
Fantastic.
So I mentioned that there is this kind of relatively stable area within the planet called the Karkati Plateau. And so it is, let's see if we can get this right. Imagine if you pushed South America into Africa, so it kind of connected and was all one continent, and then you raise that continent up by 2 miles. And it's a sheer plateau wall around the entire continent. So it is, in places, it's glass smooth because it's washed against the flame winds. So over millennia, the walls have been heat treated. Vitrification, I believe it's called. Sorry, Chris, making up another word. Where the stone has turned to glass around there. And so it is the home to the largest concentration of flint-born cultures on the surface of the planet, and has relatively peaceful atmosphere as the firestorms don't appear to be able to manifest within that altitude for whatever reason.
I'm picturing the wall of that. I'm picturing, is it the Black Wall in Game of Thrones where you first see that, and it's like, it's fucking huge, isn't it? And it's like very.
Oh no,
flat.
that isn't that the ice wall.
Or it sounds more like the is it like in the Andes or South America? Is it Patagonia or Pangaea or something? You've got like the basically a massive plateau.
Right.
Yeah, it rises hundreds and hundreds of feet, and it's got its own microclimate. It rises above the clouds.
Exactly right.
Above that, it's got its own microclimate where you get unique fauna and animals and stuff.
Right.
So as it's the interior plane, I'm saying plane here, it's the size of a continent, is shielded by these huge walls, and so it's ever so slightly concave on the interior. So the walls do come up a little bit higher. We're talking about 100 or a couple of 100 meters here, rather than towering cliffs and then an interior protected valley. It is quite active in terms of volcanism, as in there's lots of volcanoes. There are not Vulcans from Star Trek. That's the wrong IP. And really the only true access from the surface of Samarkand, the true surface, as it were, is through this kind of naturally occurring labyrinth of kind of shifting, grinding rocks known as the stone spiral. It can be mapped, but the maps usually don't last any longer than a week. So there's a constant effort to try and not only work out how to get in and out, but also how to defend against the motion of the boulders that are within there. It itself has a number of subterranean mega caverns. Of note, there is a type only found there called the Echo Vaults, and these are like huge bright limestone caverns where the kind of crystal lattices that form up around the periphery of it kind of hum with this tectonic energy converted into sound, effectively. I don't know how microphones work, but it's
been transduced. It's changed from one energy to another.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Look
nice
at you.
Crow.
Making up words.
It is said that if you listen carefully enough, you can hear the kind of memories of the ancients within this kind of gentle kind of susurration of sound within these caverns. There are many mountain ranges within Karkati, some of which have been hollowed out and turned into these kind of large subterranean farms where they practice animal husbandry until they get caught, with kind of blind cave beasts. There's huge fungus farms providing kind of basic nutrients to the flintborn, and also hardy, armored creatures like rhinos, but kind of their skin has taken on the look of kind of molten glass or hard steel, kind of chitin there. So there's many kind of insectoid and mammalian life within these large kind of hollowed out mountains for that they use for farming. The amount of steam and heat generated within these volcanoes provides the heat and power source for these settlements that are in and around these mountains. Very few nomadic tribes, because while it's still protected from firestorms, it's still incredibly dangerous. Entire sections can suddenly collapse or explode up into the atmosphere because of a release of superheated gas or magma. I'm sorry, I believe it's lava once it gets ejaculated onto the surface. But life persists in these kind of very dim, bioluminescent, illuminated pockets. And indeed, many of the aspects of the cultures have taken on a quasi kind of religious aspect as the Flintborn try and make sense of the world that they exist in. Mr. Chris.
I imagine their skin complexion is basically grey. They've got like a lot of stone and dust and volcanic ash, which is just kind of fused with them, if you like. So they've got like greyish, a musty, matty grey kind of.
I think that is true in terms of their day-to-day life, because they are constantly covered in ash and dirt from just simply existing on the planet. Karkati itself is not immune to life. It does have many beasts within there. They have the glow rakes, which are a larger and more heavily scaled version of the blind eels. And they attack not with bites. They're actually toothless, but they're able to eject spikes from around their kind of head and what would be their immediate neck rather than their body. So these incandescent spines can fire out and pierce or kill enemies. Yeah, they do have their own large Leviathan-like creature called the Burrow King. And so this is a legendary gargantuan beast of kind of silicate fur and heat-shielded bone plates. And it's said to sleep beneath the surface of the Karkati Plateau. And its kind of motions and stirrings cause this great upheaval and the kind of tectonic activity. There are some who have claimed to have seen it, but they are viewed as kind of a little bit mad. But whether or not it exists it's Nessie, basically.
Amazing.
But by far the most common predator within Karkati are the ash badgers called the Valmankaksha, who are these large burrowing predators whose kind of silicate fur is quite heat resistant, and they're about the size of what we would consider a kind of cow. So they're quite large, relatively squat, although they can kind of walk upright on four legs. But they are burrowing creatures creating their own kind of network of tunnels within Karkati's plateau, not found anywhere else on the planet. And it's believed that it's because of the kind of relatively
endemic to that area.
Yeah, relatively stable environment that allows the ash badgers to flourish.
Cool.
As for the tribes themselves, I alluded earlier that these humans are shaped by the kind of not only the heat and pressure of the planet, but also the silence that's wrapped around it. They dwell across all kind of environments, some more successful than others. Those who live on the shores of these subterranean seas are the most populous, and they are all over the planet, as well as being within the Karkati Plateau. And as we said earlier, life for them is a ceaseless struggle for kind of water, air, food, and shelter. and avoiding the worst extremes of the environmental dangers on the planet. Outside of Karkati, no tribe settles permanently on the surface of the planet, mostly because of the constant shifting of the land masses or the landscape and the surprise eruption of volcanoes and lava fields across the planet. Sanctuaries and settlements are quite often destroyed, either by the piercing of a cavern by a lava source, by quakes that kind of upend it. And there have been a few instances where an underground sea has simply drained away effectively within a day because of a breach within the kind of cavern that it's in. And so you can have an instance where a settlement that used to be on the shore is suddenly quite high up against a kind of cliff with no way of kind of moving around. And so there are many settlements that have just simply died for want of the fact that their environment changed almost overnight. Yeah. Some tribes, once they have established a small settlement, dig quite deep fortresses. And so within the shorelines of these subterranean seas, you end up with these massive kind of labyrinthine cavern cities, much like Derinkuyu in Turkey. If you'll recall, that's the one it can hold 20,000 people and was excavated out of the kind of rock and stone of the Turkish landscape. Many of the tribes have found that the crystals that grow in the mineral-rich seas are quite good for making skiffs or boats. Because of the unique mineral kind of makeup, they end up being able to have these skiffs that can not only travel across water, but also can travel quite safely across lava rivers or bodies of lava on the surface. And so there are kind of many expeditions out to hunt down monsters or to find stable ground for settlement. And indeed, there are many of these larger tribes who exist only on these skiffs and who are quite, therefore, nomadic and
fleet-based.
Relatively, I heard sheep-based.
Sheep-based.
Sheep-paced.
It turns out I don't know how headphones work either.
You could say they're fleet-based tribes.
Sheep-based tribes.
Sheep-based tribes.
Fleet-based tribes. Jesus Christ.
Well, young fellow me lads and fellow me lassies, I don't know, I'm very modern. Welcome to another feature of The Lore is Right. The
lore is right, bitch.
Lore is right, bitch. A short quiz sponsored by Adam Sandler.
Really?
I will ask a question. The answer will be a number. The closest to the number without going over wins.
Excellent.
This question is based on the lore of the Starbadgers.
Oh, I can't fail.
During, so how many
7.
Starbadgers 7.
That's it. It's your final answer, Carl.
Were abandoned as combat ineffective by the Red Talons. If you recall, they were a successor chapter to the Iron Hands. How many Starbadgers were said to have been abandoned by the Red Talons, who did not come to their aid?
50.
I'm gonna say. Feel like it was a company. Was it a company? Dar? Was it a company? Was it 100?
What?
Is a company 100?
Give me an answer.
Crowd.
Traditionally, a company is 100 Astartes, yes.
I will say the bones of 100. The bones of a company, which means anything up to 100.
Anything up to
Ben, give us a number. Just give us
Fine,
a
100.
fucking number now. Just 100. I'm saying 50.
The correct answer is 50 on the nose.
Well done, Carl.
It was a demi company that was abandoned.
That's what I meant. The bones of a demi company.
Yeah.
Shut up, Ben. I feel like that's the first I've got right. Is that the first one I've got right?
Yeah, and not only did you get it right, you got it like absolutely right. Like
Storm Amy's just stormed through the door. Live on a
Storm
recording.
Amy.
Oh yeah, Storm Amy. Hi, Storm Amy.
Yeah, I'm hungry. Too. These guys turned up 50 minutes later.
15! I never ask anything of you two.
God, for fuck's sake, you're dragging it out.
This has all been recorded. This is great. Yeah. This is great content. This is awesome. Storm Amy's just burst through the door and
I am hungry.
Yeah, okay.
How long you take?
She's drinking as well. Oh my god! Right, yeah, I gotta go. But I won. That's all that matters. Cameo from Amy.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this domestic abuse episode of Lawrence Right. Join us next time when my wife will slap me on camera. Toodaloo.
Bye.
With the constant movement of some of these tribes, they do kind of run into each other a lot, and battles are seen as sacred acts, proving their worth to the kind of ancestors of the stones. For weapons, they use either crystal or flint or stone, or in some cases, metals that they're able to refine in terms of spears and darts and ammunition for slings. And many of the greater heroes carry enormous kind of two-handed axes the blade itself made from a single piece of obsidian or flint. Tribes unable to either claim land or who have their lands taken from them become something referred to as the hollowed, who effectively are vagabonds who ride through ash storms, either on skiffs or on beasts that they have tamed, able to survive by farming the beasts or indeed resorting to cannibalism. The culture as a whole of the Flintborn is one of an oral tradition, although they do have, in some instances, writing recorded on these what's referred to as fire slates. And so it's just sheets of slate that they are etching in with the obsidian stylus, much like the chaplain from the last episode. It's a very honor-based culture where clan vows are preserved not only through word of mouth, but through the etching on fire slates and through scars and ritual tattoos. And honor and the kind of tribe's lineage are central to all decisions made. And effectively, once you become what's viewed as an adult within the cultures, you're bound then by the kind of sacred pact that the culture has decided to take. So you are inducted into the full rules of what it means to be a person of this given tribe. In terms of recruiting from these people, the Meles Astorum, or the Star Badgers, always chose the greatest warriors, usually signaled by some form of omen that such an individual was now available or now had reached an age where they were going to go through trials. Those who survive the chapter's trials, and we'll talk about that next episode, are reborn, I suppose, as members of the Star Badger fraternity. In terms of the tribes that exist on the planet, I just want to quickly mention three of them. We have the Urdakar, or known as the tribe of the Black Flame, and they dwell on the ashen slopes of a mountain range near what has become the Fortress Monastery, the Luna's vigil, and are a people obsessed with fire, both in terms of their use of pain and endurance as a kind of meditative kind of practice. And they themselves, youths, walk across barefoot across kind of freshly cooled lava fields, or descend into the kind of sulphurous vents seeking sacred embers, while the warriors of the tribe scar their flesh with the obsidian shards that are returned from such expeditions. The Durvanant are inhabitants of the eastern spines, a range along Karkati Plateau, and dwell within a labyrinth of basalt canyons and kind of quarries and obsidian buttes within that range. And they are effectively a mining tribe that chew pumice stone and kind of live off the flesh of kind of blind bloodworms that dwell within the kind of soft volcanic stone in that area. They're a culture known for very kind of cryptic oratory and are quite passionate until violence is about to happen, in which case they become incredibly calm and lucid. And a calm Duravanat is a dangerous being to be around.
How do they chew pumice stone, and why? Is it like a chemical thing? Is it like tobacco?
Pumice is a very porous volcanic rock. You can actually crush it in your hand, and so it's the mixture of their saliva with some of the minerals in there that give them like it's almost like a coca leaf high.
Okay.
So they use it as they're self-medicating, Ben. You're right to call it out.
I mean, I want to give it a shot. I'm not going to lie. It sounds fantastic.
The final tribe we want to talk about are called the Vrakshori, and they refer to themselves as the children of the thorned root, and they live almost exclusively within something called the Verdant Scar, which is this large rift valley within the surface of Karkati that has kind of heated and moistured from underneath, has turned into this kind of large verdant green area of kind of fungal jungles, thorn vines, and
fungal jungle.
Kind of many fungal jungle, which is better than drum and bass, I have to admit, because of the number of fungus plants that exist there. They're skilled poisoners and quite good ambushers, and so initiates, once they become adults within the tribe's eyes, have to bathe in the kind of venom pools to gain not only immunity, but for some reason, kind of heightened senses and reflexes. It's the cathartic experience of ayahuasca is what's happening to these people, but on their entire body all at once.
Wow. And
the shamans who lead them commune almost daily with the toxic roots of something called the deep wrath, which is it a being? Is it a right? We don't know. And they live, these shamans live and rule through visions on the culture. In terms of their experience with the Melees Astorum, they have, if you'll recall, they were granted the right to recruit from Samarkand on a regular basis. They built a small monastery at the foot of the Karkati Plateau, just outside of the spiral stones. Remember the kind of labyrinthine maze. So it's part of the trial of endurance is to try and get actually down to the site of the monastery, where they would then fight to the death. And the last kind of handful of recruits would then be given some of these toxic fungal drinks, so that they would have to endure the kind of a spiritual flaying through their own psyche, but also through the use of the powers of a librarian who would be there during these times of recruitment. We've talked about recruitment in the past. It's no special or different for the Melees Astorum before their kind of fall.
But it's slightly more psychedelic.
Slightly more psychedelic. The trial itself is referred to as the Trial of Cracking Stone because of having to get through the Spiral Stone labyrinth. And those who ultimately were selected went on something called the Spear of Flame into the sky. They ascended. Effectively, they were taken away in a Thunderhawk. I hate to demystify it for the people of the Flintborn. We turn our attention now back to the Astorum as they have now just crashed onto the surface of the planet. Almost the entire crew of the ship died when the ship crashed effectively just crash landed on the planet. A lot of the servitors and the human crew were effectively in a car crash, and they just got splattered all against all of the bulkheads. So it was really only the Astartes, and not all of the Astartes survived the landing itself. Many of the initiates and scouts that were there died as well in similar circumstances. There are no seatbelts on a spaceship.
Well, I was going to say, it's why we always wear seatbelts.
That's right, Graham.
Yeah,
the Star Badgers, now numbering literally a few score warriors after the crash, kind of took their limited numbers as a further sign of the displeasure of the Emperor. You know, they developed a keen sense of self-loathing because why would they be punished in such a fashion if they did not deserve it? And they decided to bury themselves, along with their Grand Cruiser, within the bowels of this mega volcano. And so the landslide that buried the ship, some of that was natural from just crashing into a volcano, you know, as you do. But they fired a broadside into the volcano itself, into the roots of the volcano, to collapse more of it over the ship, and effectively buried themselves alive. Given the size of the craft, they were still able to get out. There were exits.
They left a breather hole.
Yeah, you have to leave the breather hole. Tell you, that was the worst Christmas I ever had. I should have put holes in the box. Yeah. In terms of their numbers, it was less than 50. They did have some dreadnoughts held within stasis vaults within the Reclusiarchy, which then over decades became simply statues, relics to a chapter that really didn't exist anymore. And among their number was Vikrala Silaharalan, who was a Vikrala Silaharalan.
Vikrala Silaharalan.
Yeah, who is an already 1,000-year veteran of the chapter, encased in dreadnought armor and a kind of a leading voice amongst the warriors of the First Company. There were other dreadnoughts in there, but as I say, the tech marines required for their maintenance and activation lay scattered and kind of cold on the distant surface of the now ruined tomb world of Urastrech, if you'll recall. The members of the Librarius that were still alive within Luna's Vigil resigned themselves to what they refer to as the Ember Cycle, a rite where all but one of their number entered into stasis chambers, awakening only when it was their turn to kind of stand watch over the chapter. And that first watch was held by the chief librarian, the most senior officer within the surviving element of the chapter, Chief Librarian Morven, who lasted nearly 2 centuries in his post before he himself entered into stasis and another chaplain took his place.
You'd front load your shifts. Like, I'd just get it all out, and then, like, done with 2,000 years, you're up.
Yeah, and then the next guy's in there 2 days and he gets you back out because he has a question. Yeah. Which you can't be mad at, because you have to do a proper handover document. Yeah.
You do. Yeah.
Within a kind of 50 or 60 years, there was a sort of semi-joyous but still grim reunion, as the brothers who had been on secondment to the Death Watch went in search of their chapter, and went in search of a site where they knew there was equipment and so forth, and that was the monastery at the bottom of the of Karkati Plateau. After a few months, they found kind of elements of the wreckage of Luna's vigil and managed to make contact with the survivors. Among them, obviously, was the chaplain Benvat Fakroda. A stroke of fortune, although it's plot armor. There was a tech marine amongst their number, Mahakal, who was able to stabilize some but not all of the systems within the Grand Cruiser, and a veteran sergeant called Viang, who was a hero of the first company and sort of kind of a natural choice for the leader of the chapter, given that his experience over centuries had been proven as correct and true and in line with the chapter's goals. So Viang was, within fairly short order, promoted to chapter master. And he, together with the chief librarian, Chaplain Croda, and some members of the Apothecarion, became the leading council of effectively half a company of Space Marines. They entered into a millennia, we're into the 40th millennia, where it's referred to in their own records as the era of silence. So for almost 1,000 years, the chapter vanished completely from Imperial records. No astropathic signals were sent out. There was no kind of call for aid. There was no tithe. Nothing but silence. And they themselves, the survivors of the Star Badgers, did not offer assistance to any local system or government, simply because they had no way of getting there. While there were some vehicles aboard Luna's Vigil, it was all geared towards the chaplaincy, the librarius, and the apothecarion. So it was a scout factory. So they would have had some Astartes bikes, a couple of functional land speeders, but when you're starting out, you only have one tech marine. So there was a lot of skill sharing going on and a lot of cross training, kind of making sure that they
were wearing many hats.
Many hats, which is a red flag in any interview. Don't go for a job that says you're wearing many hats. Mr. Chris.
That isolationist type of 1,000-year period where they were basically out of contact both ways, incoming and outgoing communications, of kind of makes me think of like feudal Japan, where they, maybe this isn't the right analogy, but feudal Japan rejected everything outside of Japan, didn't they? They didn't want any external cultural influences or trade or anything like to happen, or at least minimal trade anyway. And they became pretty fucking bitter. But like, if you watch all the manga films and stuff, they're all very angry.
I think the end result is the same, but the driving reason for the isolation was that, one, they felt they deserved it, but also that they had to focus on building their numbers back up if they wanted to make any kind of meaningful impact on the kind of galactic stage as a chapter in good standing. The difficulty, of course, was that while it was their kind of lead apothecarion, most of the staff and the servitors had been killed in the initial crash. So the tech marine was able to bring back some functionality to servitors and such, and repair some of the damaged systems. But one tech marine only knows so much. There are still specializations amongst tech marines. And their biggest issue was with the storage of gene seed. They lost a lot of their gene seed store during the crash, which meant that their only source for gene seed was the living members of the chapter and some cases of gene seeds that survived the crash itself. This meant that what had survived and what could be extracted and used was incredibly carefully guarded and used very sparingly into aspirants drawn from the Samarcandian tribes, sometimes only 1 and 2 in a generation during this 1,000-year isolation. This meant that within a few hundred years, the number of scouts outweighed the number of, full-blooded Marines of various ranks, and they became increasingly a force of scouts. And so while they were able to kind of use bolters and bolt pistols and chainswords and shotguns and what have you, they did not have the facility to generate the black carapace in great numbers to lift scouts through then into full-blooded battle brothers. But even if they could do that, they didn't have the suits of power armor. The only kind of functioning power armor within the chapter was worn on those battle brothers who had survived the crash, or indeed who had arrived later on to kind of aid them, the element from the Death Watch, as I mentioned earlier. So as centuries kind of passed, while their numbers did grow, they were never able to get beyond the kind of 200 mark. And so you're looking at a force of about 180 scouts led by 20 to 25 power armored space marines, of whom only 10 or 12 would be leaders of squads or appear as a squad themselves to defend tribes against raiders or Xenos threats. As the millennia passed, some of the scouts died in training, and their gene seed, while immature, was able to be extracted and saved. There was a vast effort made into expanding the facility. So they built, much like the Flintborn, they dug tunnels, created kind of complexes underneath the Grand Cruiser. Or indeed, some were killed in defense of the site of what is now effectively their chapter monastery against Xenos threats, or maddened kind of tribes that decided they were a resource-rich source and needed to be killed. So those that survived over the centuries became kind of hunters, but eternal initiates. So you had warriors who would be, in their 80s or 90s, but still be scouts. They'd have beards. Let's just say they're not stuck in time. The veterans themselves classed really as those within power armor. Their power armor, the warplate, became kind of scarred and was patched with kind of crude patches and reforges. Yeah, duct tape. A lot of duct tape. They became almost the mythic elders of the chapter. And as decades turned into centuries, they aged as kind of mortals might do, within the super soldier gene seed biome of their lives. So they became viewed as immortal, although not immortal themselves, as the stasis chambers, while being maintained and operated by the Tech Marine and his assistants, found use as kind of, a veteran would come out and stand watch for a year, much like the librarians, and then go into stasis for 10 years and then come back out again. So there was a lot of kind of suspended animation within the lives of the leadership. So they had scarce leadership at any one given time, as most of the different types of battle brother and specialist were held within stasis chambers.
It's a dark day. It is a dark day for the old Star Badgers, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Not much going on.
While they were reclusive and isolationist on a kind of planetary scale, they themselves did not remain idle as a chapter. When the Xenos raided Samarkand's tribes, these shadow warriors, clad in ancient kind of ceramite armor, carrying really weird, magical, esoteric weapons, as far as the tribespeople were concerned, would strike out from kind of tunnels, appearing as if from nowhere, cutting throats and breaking skulls, before vanishing back into the stones, the very stone of the planet. Some of them arrived by themselves, sent as a single individual to either take care of a small threat or to inspire the tribes to fight back. So sent as an inspirational leader rather than as an assassin, although there were a number of assassination missions carried out. Others, though, arrived in kind of large packs, kind of warrior brotherhoods, much like the kind of Beowulf story, who turn up sweeping the enemies or the danger or threat from the tribe, keeping their kind of resource of farmable young men alive and strong. To these tribes, they eventually became known as the burrow gods within their local vernacular, who were viewed as beings of both stone and fire, who occasionally, at the end of a mission, would take a youth from their tribe and marking them and their family as destined ultimately to vanish into the mountains and to never return. It was during this is, we're talking now, straddling the 40th and into the 41st millennia, that the Astartes, these scouts, arrived accompanied by the Ash Badgers that we mentioned earlier, either as a lone companion, so you would have this warrior suddenly appear with his angry badger chum, or indeed as in packs that would arrive either with a lone Astartes or with these warrior groups of Astartes to take out an enemy threat. The inclusion or the arrival of these Ash Badgers was sort of embraced by the chapter, who they themselves referred to the squads of Astartes scouts that would go out as claw packs. And there were, they generated kind of 10 or organized into 10 large claw packs, each of somewhere between 15 to 20 scouts led by one of these veterans of the chapter. Mr. Chris.
I do believe a group of star or ash badges is called a set.
Yeah, but we're talking about the warriors. Who
Shut
are
up, Krell.
Clawbacks.
Okay.
Shut up. No.
Okay.
No. Hang on. Noted. I will include that in some aspects later on.
Sorry, just to touch on these Ash Badgers again, which I know is probably illegal. Can you? How big are they?
They're the size of a cow.
Wow. Okay.
They're the size of a cow.
Fucking massive badger, them.
Yeah, but they're not real badgers, man. They're Ash Badgers.
They're Ash Badgers.
Ash Badgers.
Ash Badger.
Ash Badger. Oh, Ash Badger.
Ash Badger.
Yes, Miss Moneypenny. It's an Ash Badger.
Ash Badger.
By the end of the 41st millennium, these Astartes warriors had cemented their position in the Flintborn cultures as these burrow gods. They transitioned from beings that would appear out of stone to simply stone spirits, beings that would just simply appear, and were viewed as guardians of the kind of balance of the world. And this mythos ensured a relatively steady supply of aspirants through the trials. Aspirants, nailed it.
Nice.
Although most perished in the kind of brutal initiation rites, because obviously with gene seed being even more precious than it would be in a normal chapter, the tests that aspirants had to go through, aspirants, I beg your pardon, had to go through was more, intense and trauma-inducing than it would be for a similar chapter. I did quickly Photoshop up an image for what one of these Star Badger scouts would look like. So that is a Space Marine scout armed with a bolt gun. As you can see, he's wearing kind of black ceramite armor plates over a kind of grey overall and the leather for the weapons and ammunition pouches and stuff are a kind of darkish red color. So it's still
burgundy.
Still holds the original color scheme for the Star Badgers, but in a matted down to work within the kind of camouflage nature of life on Samarkand. I tried on the image to give him a kind of white ash face paint. It didn't work completely, but most of the aspirants have, or most of the scouts have, their face covered in white ash. And because they are still scouts, they are not allowed to have the stripes that would be found on the regular Battle Brothers. And it was a way of distinguishing further Battle Brothers from scouts.
So if these guys had all of the implants bar the black carapace, so they're basically like there's just a shit ton of potential now. There's
a shit ton of potential.
They're brewing.
Yeah.
Homebrews. Yeah.
We come then to the tail end of the 41st millennium, and it's a period within the Melees of Storm known as the Dimming. It is unfortunately the start of the decline of the chapter itself, as it had been circling the drain, so to speak, for 1,000 years before that. Of all the warriors that it had built up over time, less than half now remain. So we're under 100 warriors, almost all scouts at this stage, because many of the aged veterans had either passed away or could no longer sustain life without going into suspended animation for months, if not decades at a time now. Luna's Vigil transformed really into a tomb fortress rather than a chapter fortress, and its many decks and hallways and areas kind of rang hollow, usually as the mountain it was embedded in kind of breathed due to tectonic activity. The
Sighed.
The forges kind of grew colder. Many of the pieces of equipment within the ship became irreparable, and one by one, the kind of plasma furnaces that kept the ship going began to fail. Many relics were sealed away within the stasis vaults, which still functioned. Unusable, in fact, these relics without proper maintenance and artisanship. But yet, the scouts still endured. So packs of scouts would still go out, accompanied by these ash badgers who now lived within the halls of Luna's Vigil. They would appear to fend off the worst of Samarkand's kind of deadliest beasts from settlements, and also battle against pirate incursions of many races, humans, Eldari, and others, and orcs. And while every victory was small, each loss they suffered was permanent. And the chapter seemed destined, really, to fade into obscurity with all its kind of glories forgotten and its lines extinguished. That was until the Ultima Crusade, with the resurrection of Rabutia Guliman. We're now in the very end of, we're literally in year 999 of Millennia 41 and into Millennia 42. The kind of resurgent Imperium with the Indomitus Crusade spread out across the galaxy in 3 large fleets to start with, which then broke into sub-fleets. The fleet Tertius, the third fleet, swung through the Segmentum Pacificus, and as they were passing through the system itself of Pyros, because they were aware that this array was there and they wanted to tap into the signals and look at the resources available within Sakaran as well, see if they could lift up the proto-industrial worlds, the kind of feudal world. Would it be a good place to resource troops or source troops for the fleets on an ongoing basis? It turned out it wasn't. But as they were within the system...
Turns out no.
Turns out, totally wasted trip.
No.
The librarian who was staffing the kind of command center of Luna's Vigil picked up the ships on their scanners and sent out a Vox announcement because it was such a large ship, all with Imperial kind of signals and identifiers on them. Ultimately, that led the third ship or third fleet to send down a Primaris force to investigate this crashed ship on the surface of Samarkand, and thus the Star Badgers, what was left of them, was reunited with the Imperium. And that's where we're going to stop for today.
Ta-da!
Ooh, fucking hell. I can see what's coming. I feel like I know what's going to happen. Yeah, I feel like there's a shit ton of potential brewing here.
Oh man, yeah. It was a lull. It was an ebb in the chapter, as it were, of this Star Badgers chapter, where they were regrouping, finding their feet again. It was a question, really. Yes, it was Crown. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But they were preparing, weren't they? They were doing everything that they could with what they had
to stay alive.
To stay alive.
To be clear, there was no hope. They believed they were being punished for their failure. It was a judgment of the Emperor himself. So they were merely trying to survive as all the other inhabitants of Samarkand do.
Wow. Okay.
And I bet they reap the rewards when they come back, when they're welcomed, embraced, I assume, back into the Imperium. They're going to be like, fuck. We thought you guys were dead. We kind of rented out your bedroom, son.
Yeah. and then the Star Badgers were like, oh yeah, no, we thought like we were being punished because we like fucked up, and they're like, no, we didn't care. Like we didn't even know.
We mourned, damn it. We mourned for you.
We thought you were dead. Yeah.
We thought you were dead. Yeah. So yeah.
We thought we were being tested. We're the victims.
Yeah. We thought you were in a mood with us, Yeah.
Kral, by the way, this is your new father. He's moved in with us.
I feel like the collective noun for a pack of badgers could be jazzed up from sets. Could you propose
jazzed up? That's a weird name.
Yeah, a jazz of badgers.
A jazz of badgers.
I'm just giving facts.
That is a fact, isn't it? That's a set.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. Yep.
I don't make the rules. I merely enforce them, Benny.
Like Brannigan's Law.
Yep.
Yeah.
So any thoughts? Anything that struck you as interesting or cool? He asked, hopefully.
Yeah. No, it was all shit. Yeah, I didn't no, it was fucking ace, man. Like I love the detail about the planet. I think kind of going into that level of description really sets it helps to understand their character. It's properly inhospitable, and I love the wildlife that exists in the caverns. That's really interesting because that's obviously
subterranean lifestyles.
It's that again. It's kind of informing more of the way they are. I am still very interested to see how their influences are going to evolve over the next episode. That is all I will say on the matter.
Yeah. So how many in the initial crash, how many lives were lost? And you would hope that they would maybe salvage some of the armor from the fallen brothers as well, which I'm sure they did. But it was a mess.
They did, yeah.
It was a fucking mess. Yeah.
I mean, it was a spaceship plowed into a mountain. Yeah.
Have you ever thrown a jar of jam against a wall, Chris?
Oh, every morning. That's how I start my day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mazel tov.
As soon as the fucking fucking triggering alarm goes off. Like, grab a jam jar.
Keep a jar next to the bed.
Yeah. Just screaming star badges. Star badges!
While still asleep.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, well done, man. Loved it.
Yeah, so
right.
So to answer the question that Chris actually asked, it was tens of thousands of humans and servitors,
Right.
kind of either died or became non-functional.
Yeah.
Of the roughly 80-ish Astartes and scouts that were on the cruiser when it crashed, less than 50 survived.
Whew. Yeah. Okay.
And most of the fatalities were of initiates, were of scouts.
Yeah. Wow. Fucking what a comeback though. I feel there's a massive comeback story coming.
Gross.
Definitely.
Yeah.
To defeat the Ultramarines. Hoorah!
They came out of this surprise. The Star Badgers are a Chaos Space Marine force.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm okay with that. Cool. Nice. Excited for the next episode or the finale.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's all from us. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more 40k content, just hit the Patreon link in the description and sign up today to listen to our bonus show, 40KO'd, which will have a couple of episodes dedicated to the Space Badgers. That's going to be interesting.
Oh.
Details and imagery for the topics we've discussed in this show can be found on our website at layingdownthelore.com and in the description, where we also have all our previous episodes, release schedules, and merchandise. You can also join our Discord for free, so just hit the link in the description and come and tell us what you think of the Star Badgers so far. We'll be back again soon displaying just how little Kralin I know, and until then, a Star Badger to you.
Star Badger farewell.
Grr.